What is going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another reaction video, and today we are reacting to Bleacher Report's trades to get every eliminated playoff team to the 2021 NBA Finals. So like always, I will leave a link to the article in the description below. So this is by Zach Buckley of Bleacher Report, so I'm guessing this, okay, so this was made actually this morning. So it's got all the playoff teams. It's gonna have 14 teams that didn't make the NBA Finals and a trade they need to make to go to the finals next year. But it'll be weird because teams like the Thunder, they're kind of gonna take a step back and rebuild. So I wonder what their trade is gonna be. I guess it's, I don't know. So that will be pretty interesting about this article, and drop a thumbs up if you guys are enjoying the video. So we'll start with the Boston Celtics, who did lose to the Miami Heat in 6. The Heat and the Lakers will be in the finals. It'll be LeBron versus old team. It'll be the first finals for Jimmy Butler. The first time the Heat have gone there since, what, 2014. So it's going to be, I think, a good one. I really hope it's a good series. The Lakers have won every series they've been in 5 games. So I'm hoping that the Heat can either win or push it to 6 or push it to 7, just so we have an entertaining finals. Because, let's see, last year's finals was pretty entertaining, actually. I think last year's finals, even with all the injuries to Golden State, was really entertaining. And then years prior, it was the 2 years of the Cavs versus the Warriors when they had KD. Those weren't really entertaining finals, but obviously 2016 was really entertaining. So I just want an entertaining finals. But we can get into this. We got the Boston Celtics, who still have a great young core with Brown and Tatum. They're going to have the 14th pick in the draft. They have Kemba Walker, who's one of the better point guards in the NBA. They still have a good playmaker, Gordon Hayward, who's definitely going to opt into his player option. So this trade is Miles Turner, Jeremy Lamb, and Doug McDermott going to the Boston Celtics for Gordon Hayward, 14 and 26. Now, Gordon Hayward is technically an expiring deal, so I don't know if you'd really put Gordon Hayward and Miles Turner really on the same level. Gordon Hayward is a lot older, or a couple years older than Miles Turner. I would say he's about 5 or 6 years older off the top of my head. I could be wrong, but obviously I think we now know Boston needs that center. They have assets to get a center. They have the 14th pick. Maybe a team wants Gordon Hayward, and I like the idea of going after Miles Turner, and they have 3 first-round picks in this year's draft, so I think they have the assets to get a center, and I really think they should do so. I don't know if Indiana would accept that trade, but it is interesting. It is interesting. Maybe you move Sabonis to the 5. You put maybe Gordon Hayward in the 4 role, and you have Hayward, Turner, Oladipo, and Brogdon. I don't know if they really like that. Obviously, they lose some offense with Lamb and McDermott. I don't know if they would want to give up both those guys. Maybe Lamb, but Lamb is obviously recovering from the ACL tear. I think Boston, this would be a solid trade for Boston because I think Turner fits the timeline with Brown and Tatum. He was taken in 2015, Brown 16, Tatum 17. So I think he fits that timeline. And I would do this if I was Boston because then you get some good offense off the bench as well, and shooting in Lamb and McDermott. Lamb has 2 years left on his deal, so not the greatest. And I think McDermott will be an expiring or has 2 years left. I don't know off the top of my head. But I would do this if I was Boston. I don't know if I would if I was Indiana, especially in a weaker draft. Like, I don't think you're finding that Bam Adebayo at 14. Next up, we have the Brooklyn Nets. So technically made the playoffs, and obviously they're going to be a lot better next year with Kyrie actually playing. They'll have Dinwiddie for the bubble or for the playoffs next year if he doesn't get hurt or traded. And obviously Kevin Durant is going to be playing for the first time since the 2019 NBA Finals. I'm super excited to see him playing again. But they have a Bradley Beal for Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Garrett Temple, number 19, 2021 second, 2022 first, top 5 protected. I don't know. I mean, I would so do that if you're Brooklyn. And you get to keep Dinwiddie. I'd 100% do that trade. 100% do this trade if you're Brooklyn, because you're giving up, what, 19 in this draft? Do you really need 19? Not really. It's not like it's a huge asset to them. 2022 first, they're going to be good. KD and Kyrie, I guess, no, they won't be free agents till 2022, I believe. Yeah, 2022 free agents, I think. So I don't think that that will be a high pick whatsoever. You don't even need to make that protected. So I think this would be great for Brooklyn. I don't know if Washington views Karis LeVert as like, okay, that's the guy we need. He can replace Bradley Beal. He's making about $17 million a year for the next 3 years. I don't know. I don't think Washington would do that trade. I think they would look for something better. But maybe when it comes to it, they would do that trade if Bradley Beal does request a trade. And then the Nets, you got Kyrie, Dinwiddie, Beal, KD, DeAndre Jordan, but that's really freaking good, and that will compete for a title next year. Next, we have the Dallas Mavericks. So the Mavericks receive Rudy Gobert. Jazz receive Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, Jalen Brunson, 18 and 31. Now, this is interesting for Utah because now they get kind of complementary pieces to Donovan Mitchell. And they would have, well, no, I don't think, well, Kleber's under contract for, what, 2-3 more years. Brunson will be a restricted free agent, I believe, in 2022. So you'd still have 2021 cap space because Hardaway's a player option, but obviously the Bojan contract. But I think with Mitchell, if you could hold out on his extension, you could have 2021 max cap space with this trade, which is interesting, but who's coming to Utah, right? Can you really bank on a star coming to Utah? I think you want to keep your own, unless Gobert wants like $35 million a year, then you trade him. I don't think he's worth that. I think that sets you back. Even though he's one of the greater, I mean, he's one of the best defensive players in the league. He's a 2-time defensive player of the year in 18 and 19. But do you really give somebody who can't create his own shot, who's not really much of an offensive threat with the ball in his hands, $35 million a year in this day and age, who can't shoot threes? I don't know. It's really tough to do. Dallas, this one is also kind of interesting for Dallas because really the only true asset that's going to hurt them giving up is Jalen Brunson, I would say, due to the contract he's on and the youth. 18-31, obviously a team that doesn't have their 2021 or 2023 picks also hurts. But getting Rudy Gobert, they obviously, like I said in all my rebuilds when I rebuild the Mavericks, they need to get that max guy or that third star, really good player before Luka's a free agent in 2022. Because they're paying Kristaps all this money, they're going to pay Luka the max, whatever it is, in 2022 or the start of the 2021 season, 2022 season. So I think they need to get that guy, and if they think, oh, maybe free agency will work out well, they're not going to really get Giannis, or they're not going to get, I don't know, Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, somebody like that, you know what I mean? Then you make this trade, but Gobert's going to be a free agent next year. So do you want to give all that up for a guy you could possibly just sign in free agency next year? I wouldn't do that. So I don't think I would do that for, I would definitely not do this if you're Dallas. I don't know if I would, I'm 50-50 if I would do this if I were Utah. Denver, whoa. Why would the Thunder do this? What? Why would the Thunder do this? So Denver received Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Thunder received Michael Porter Jr., Monte Morris, and pick 22. Shai has proven that he's healthy. He's a great player on both sides of the ball. And Michael Porter Jr. is good, and he has potential, yeah, but, man, that back scares the hell out of me. I don't know if he's going to be a really good player post 26 years old for him. You get Monte Morris, an expiring point guard who's a solid backup point guard, but okay, and 22 in the draft in a weak draft. No, this is a horrible trade for OKC. I would do this in a heartbeat if I was Denver. But no, why would OKC? They would hang up the phone, I think, immediately. Yeah, I don't really agree with that. So yeah, the Thunder to take the calculated risk of betting on that Porter's ceiling stretches even higher. No, you don't do that. Houston receives Aaron Gordon and Alfred Camino. Orlando receives Eric Gordon, Daniel House, Ben McLemore, 2022 first. Oh, they're just trading all their first, 2024 second, and 2024 seconds. I mean, you're getting a first and some offense for Aaron Gordon. Do you really do that if you're Orlando, though? Because you already have Terrence Ross and Evan Fournier. You're going to have the 18th or whatever pick in this draft. You're going to have Chuma Okeke next year. Or mainly, let's talk about Fournier and Ross. You have these shooting, like, twos, like, and threes. Why do you need Eric Gordon, Daniel House, and Ben McLemore? I feel like they really don't help you move the needle. You kind of need that shot creator, that guy that can actually have the ball in their hands in an isolation. You don't need spot-up shooters or just overall shooters like you already have in Evan Fournier and Terrence Ross. I don't really like this trade. I mean, you get a first in 2022 and maybe they move Harden by then. Probably not. So I disagree with this trade a lot if I was Orlando, but I would do this if I were Houston. 100%. I would do that. Even though they keep giving up first round picks. Might as well draft someone for once. What was the last first round pick they had? I don't know. It was what? It wasn't Capella in 2015. What was Capella, 2014 or 2015? Either way, it's been a minute since they've had like a good first round pick that they've actually tried to build around or just build with. Pacers here, so they've received Drew Holiday. I like that, but I also don't like them giving up Miles Turner, Aaron Holiday, Doug McDermott, and a 2022 first. Oh my God. Does this even make them better? I love bringing in Drew Holiday to that team. Pair him up with the other Holidays. Well, I guess not Aaron because he's getting traded. But I don't know. I wouldn't give up Miles Turner for Drew Holiday, who's going to have a player option next year. He'll be a 2020 he's a player option. He'll be a 2022 free agent, but he could opt out next year, so he could be an expiring contract at the moment. And you're giving up a 2022 first and Aaron Holiday when he's basically a similar player to Oladipo. He's better than Oladipo, but I would do this if you're New Orleans, because you get Miles Turner, who I like a lot more than Jackson Hayes. You get Aaron Holiday, a good backup point guard, and a 2022 first, and a shooter, Doug McDermott, who could replace JJ Redick when he's done in his contract there and kind of fit that role. For Drew Holiday, I would do that, but I would not do this if I was Indiana. I don't think I would. I don't really think it makes them better. I mean, maybe you could play Drew Holiday at the 3, Warren at the 4. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would do Sabonis. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really like that trade for Indiana. LA, okay, so they received Derrick Rose. Pistons received Landry Shamet, Fondu, Kevin Jelly, Gelly, I always butcher his name, and a 2022. You know what? I'm actually I butcher his name every time, so let's go on Basketball Reference. Let's type in Fondu, and let's see. It's, it's actually pronounced Fondu. The M's silent. Oh, well, glad I looked this up. So it's Fondu, Cabangeli. Fondu Cabangeli. Okay. Fondu Cabangeli, Shamet, and 2022 second for Derrick Rose. I feel like unless Detroit really unless Luke Weaver and that staff, or Troy Weaver, I keep saying the goddamn pitcher for the Diamondbacks or whatever, or the Angels, I don't even know what team he's on. Unless Troy Weaver and that Pistons staff really likes Landry Shamet, I feel like you can get more. I feel like you can get a first and a young player. Like, I feel like if the Lakers lose the finals, they would do Kuzma in their first this year for Derrick Rose, and I would think about that. But maybe Fondu was basically a first-round pick last year. He was an early second. You get a second out of this. Yeah, you know what? I kind of like this trade for both sides. I do. I think Detroit, especially if they take a point guard, they should trade Derrick Rose. If it's a Cole, I mean, I think they should tank next year, and he's an expiring deal. You might as well get an asset for him. Maybe you wait to the deadline, and you help him maybe mentor Killian Hayes to the deadline, and I would definitely do that if I were the Clippers. We got the Bucks. They received Chris Paul. You guys know I'm a big fan of this. They get they give up Eric Bledsoe, Ursan Ilyasova, DiVincenzo, Lopez, DJ Wilson, and a 2024 first. Wow, 2 firsts, or a first and DiVincenzo. Chris Paul's contract is so bad that I don't think you need to give up 2 good assets for him. I know he's an all-star, but I think the Thunder would be just so rude to get off his contract. And it's not like they're taking back like an Al Horford here who's got 3 years left on his contract. Eric Bledsoe's got what? He has 2 years left, I believe. He signed the extension in 2019, the end of that season. So he's got 3 years left. He's got 3 years left, and I think Chris Paul does as well. But I think you give up the Pacers pick this year, and you give up like 2 seconds instead of giving up. And I think you do all you can to keep DiVincenzo. I don't see why they would have to give up or should try to give up DiVincenzo. I think you try to keep DiVincenzo. You give up a first this year, and then maybe you do the 2024 first. If that means you're getting Giannis, because as long as they have Giannis, they'll probably won't be a lottery team, so that pick won't be much to them. But I would do that trade for. I would definitely do this if I was OKC. Getting DiVincenzo and a 2024 first for Chris Paul, hell yeah. But for Milwaukee, I would only do this trade if I keep DiVincenzo. OKC, they get Oladipo. They give up, obviously, the point of this article is to make these teams contend for next year. And I know they're probably like, oh, they're going to be rebuilding and trading Chris Paul. But I'm not going to hate on that for that, because I obviously get the point of the article. So Thunder receive Chris Paul. Indiana receives Schroeder, Basie, Ferguson in 25. It's a good return for Indiana. I like Darius Beasley a lot. I think that Schroeder's a really good player. He's an expiring contract as well. Ferguson might be, I don't know if he's going to be something. Maybe they would ask for Lou Dort and pick 25. And the Thunder receive Oladipo. Honestly, I wouldn't go near Oladipo until I know he's the Oladipo of old and he's an expiring contract. I wouldn't go near Oladipo. I'm too scared. I'm too scared of how bad of a flop the trade could be. So I wouldn't do this if I was OKC. Indiana, I would definitely think about it. Orlando, they would get Bradley Beal. I like it. Washington gets Evan Fournier, Jonathan Isaac, and 15. I think Isaac is looked as a very high player in the NBA, especially because he's very young. It sucks that he's not going to probably play next year because of his ACL tear. He might, though. He might. I mean, does the season really go into August next year? Probably not. It's going to start in January, so I don't know when it's going to end. But either way, I mean, Washington, if Isaac's what he was of old and you think he will be, I think Isaac's a good enough player and 15 to get for Bradley Beal. And Orlando gets Bradley Beal. They have Fultz, Beal, whoever their small forward is, maybe it's Okiki. And then they got Gordon Vucevic/Bamba. Think about that. That's actually an intriguing offer. That is an intriguing offer. I think Isaac is their highest potential player, and he has the most trade value on that team. But hey, you go all in next year, and you can maybe contend for the 5th seed with that team, because then you have some really good players in Vucevic, Bradley Beal, and Aaron Gordon. Maybe that gets it done. I don't know. Philly, and it's still a good defensive team. Philly gets Chris Paul. Thunder get Horford, Matisse, Zaire Smith, and a 2022 first. Honestly, as much as you just want to stay away from that Al Horford contract, you do this trade. You do this trade. You're getting a great young defensive player in Thibault. Imagine Thibault and Lou Dort coming off the bench defensively. That's really nice. You can maybe salvage something out of Zaire Smith, and you get their 2022 first, top 10 protected. Maybe you, instead of that, you ask for their 2020 first, which it's actually the Thunder's pick, and it's 21st overall. So maybe you ask for that instead just to get an immediate rookie here. But I think I would do this for both teams. I like this for both teams, and I think both teams would come out winners here. I think so. And like, because Philly desperately needs to get rid of Al Horford, and I think they need a playmaking ball handler like Chris Paul. Portland, whoa, Ben Simmons and the Sixers receive McCollum, Trent Jr. at 16. I think I would do this if I was Portland. I don't think Philly does this. I don't really think McCollum makes them all that better, unless they also had Chris Paul. If they maybe had Chris Paul and McCollum, because then maybe you could flip Trent Jr. 16, or maybe you could flip 16 to OKC instead of having to give up Thibault. Maybe that's something. Then you could have Chris Paul, you could have McCollum / Josh Richardson, you could have Tobias Harris / Thibault. You figure out the power forward, you can slide one of them down there, maybe Harris or something like that. You sign somebody, and you have Embiid. Maybe that's better than what they have now. Maybe that is. So I would do that if I was Portland. If I was Philly, I would think about trying to get Chris Paul as well, because then they really don't have a point guard if they make this trade. Toronto, LaMarcus Aldridge going to the Raptors. San Antonio receives Powell, Davis, and 29, and that is way too much value for LaMarcus Aldridge at this point in his career. Expiring deal. He's getting older. He's not much on defense anymore. Yeah, that is way too much for LaMarcus Aldridge. I would think he would go to, like, remember what Marcus Gasol went for last year? It was Valanciunas and, DeLon Wright in a second. I would think it would be something like that. So maybe Norman Powell, but then it would be just 2 seconds. Like something like that. I don't think that they would also give up Terrence Davis and a first. I think they would try to keep Norman Powell as well. So maybe a sign and trade. I actually don't know. I don't know. It would be cool for them to get Aldridge, but at this point, is Aldridge that much better than Ibaka? Well, Ibaka is a free agent, but you get my point. And obviously, this will allow them to still have 2021 cap space. But still, I wouldn't give up Powell, Davis, and the 29th pick. But I would definitely do this if I was San Antonio. And finally, Utah gets Chris Paul. OKC receives Mike Conley, 2021 second, and a 2023 top 10 protected first. I would so 100% do this if I were Utah. Obviously, they're down to first. Still from the Mike Conley trade to Memphis. Still not looking like a great deal for them. But I think getting Chris Paul would be huge. It would be huge. I think OKC could find a better offer like that Philly offer, but I guess they only take on an expiring deal and then they get a first to add to that haul of first they already have. So I like this trade for both teams. The only reason I think this wouldn't maybe go through, if Utah doesn't want to give up another first or OKC has a better offer on the table. But yeah, that is going to be for me. We went through all 14 teams. This was actually a pretty interesting article. I hope you guys did enjoy. Drop a thumbs up if you guys do enjoy these videos. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I love you guys. I'm going to try to keep daily uploads on the channel, so I've been missing days here and there. It's just I've been doing a lot with schoolwork and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just tough to make a video on Sunday or yesterday I missed. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Love you guys. See you guys in the next video. Peace.